Hi.
Oh my god, it's been like a million years.
I know. Well, it has been a couple of months, let me tell you.
Yeah, like almost 2 whole ass months.
Yeah.
Oops.
So, um, we wanted to address that at the top of this episode.
Yeah, really just address the elephant in the room, and it's not my fat ass.
Stop.
I
You look
can't, I'm
amazing,
sorry.
Jaymie.
Thank you.
So I think the last couple times we recorded, Jaymie had an accident, and we kind of talked about that a little bit. There was more recovery and surgery involved
than anyone really thought. I mean, so I guess I can tell the story. So,
sure.
I don't know if I mentioned this on the last episode that we had recorded or not. So if this is old news, sorry about it. If it's new news, then you're welcome.
It's a story.
So I work for a doctor's office. I schedule surgeries for a handful of great doctors, and my skin wasn't getting better, like on my hands and my stomach. So I reached out to one of them because my primary care had referred me to a plastic surgeon that was local to me, and to do reconstruction on the hands and a skin graft because it just wasn't healing, and it had at this point had been like 2.5-3 weeks.
Yeah.
And they couldn't get me in until the end of November, like after Thanksgiving, even for a consult, like at all. And I was calling the last full week in October.
Yeah.
And so I reached out to one of the doctors I work for, like that Sunday night of the last week in October, and I was like, hey, like I know it's, this is kind of a weird question, but like I'm having a really hard time getting to a plastic surgeon because I called multiple offices closer to where I live, because I work for doctors out in San Francisco, which for those of you who don't know is about like 30 minutes to an hour away depending on traffic, etc.
Yeah.
And I texted him, he called me right away, and he was like, I'm thinking of like XYZ doctors, like I'll talk to them tonight and tomorrow morning, and then do like a phone introduction and then get you in the door. I was like, oh my god, like thank you so much, like literally didn't think it was going to be moving this fast.
Yeah.
And then speaking of moving fast, because this conversation happened at like, I don't know, 7 o'clock on Sunday evening, 7 in the morning on Monday, I get a like group text with the doctor I work for, and then also a number I didn't know, and then hi Jaymie, this is Dr. So-and-so. Dr. So-and-so, this is the person I was telling you about on the phone. This is, my scheduler, blah, 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 blah. So he texted me on a separate chat and said, can you send me pictures of the injuries and, see what's going on? I sent him the pictures. He calls me, I shit you not, like within 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And is like, that needs a graft. Like, I'm pretty sure I have time Thursday morning for surgery. So when I get into the office, I'll give my assistant all of your information and let's get this rolling. And I was like, oh, okay. So 7:30 in the morning on Monday, I get told, yeah, you fucking need surgery. And then 7:30 on Thursday, I'm having surgery.
Which is so good that you were able to get in like that fast because you needed it.
Yeah, like, and the doctor put it this way too. He was like, if we don't get you in, like basically by next week, then the skin, if it does start healing on its own, will like be too tight and you won't be able to get full range of motion in your hands again.
Yeah. Which is not something you want to hear.
No, especially when you're 26. Like,
right.
Like, cool. So I get the rest of my life without being able to bend my pinky. That's rad.
Yeah.
So I had my surgery the first week in November. And then it's been, let's see, like almost 6 weeks post-op now from the time we're recording this. And I've been going to physical therapy. It's been a lot.
Your hands look amazing. Like it's such a
like all things considered, yeah, they look great.
Yeah,
like
they do.
Even like when right after surgery, like they were really bumpy, and like after the graft took, again, it was just like bumpy and lumpy, and it looked discolored and disfigured. And I was like, oh, this is gonna be me for the rest of my life, and I still couldn't bend my fingers. And I was like, oh, fuck.
It's just a process.
And so I didn't realize it was this long of a thing. And, it's been a lot, like, mentally and physically draining. So,
yeah.
That's why I've been absent.
Yeah.
And so we just decided to kind of take a little hiatus here.
Yes. And we wanted to do that as well so that we could kind of brainstorm how we want the future of this podcast to be.
Yeah.
Because we have been grateful enough to have ads, you know, this last year, which has been great. And it's this podcast has actually been more popular than I think either of us thought it would be. So
100%.
We want to do right by our listeners, and so we've had a business meeting. We're planning some new things for the new year, hopefully, that we are going to implement. So starting in February, we're going to have some new like content each episode for you that'll be a little different, and then we also are going to start a website. And so all of the information about the victims and resources and pictures can be found on the website.
When that's out, we're hoping probably also early February.
Yeah, you know, those things take time. Of course, we want to make sure that looks good. So that's something that we're working on. As well, we're working with, you know, Zach from Weekend Plans and Jackson from Jaymie and Jackson's podcast, Why Do You Like This? And so because we're all under one umbrella company called Hot for Media. So, or Hot for Content.
I was like, ma'am?
Ma'am, you're a co-owner of this. Sorry. So that's kind of where we're at.
Yeah, so that's kind of all of the like loose ends, I guess, that we left untied last year.
So I literally like tried to record without you, and no matter how like I tried to talk so slow, but you know the types of cases we're covering, mainly like missing people, Black and people of other like colors, and there's just not a lot of information, and so it's really difficult when you're recording on your own. My episodes were like 15 minutes long, and so I just was like, you know what?
Yeah, so, you know, again, like, we just kind of came together and agreed, you know, let's just take a little breaky poo.
It was nice. I'm not gonna lie. I did need it too. I mean, this year, I think for everybody has been so difficult in such different ways.
2020 has been the shit show of all shit shows. I mean, I'll be really frank. Like, during this whole time that we've been on hiatus, like, I've been recovering from major surgery. I've been going through this. Like, I saw a meme the other day that was like, you know, like that meme where it's like a bunch of Spider-Mans like pointing at each other.
Yes.
And it was like all these different kinds of depression, like seasonal depression, like COVID depression, like regular depression, like all pointing at each other. Like, who's the culprit? And, you know, I haven't been working, so, you know, income is low. Like, I'm on disability right now because I mean, I couldn't work with my hands. I'm going back to work, actually the week after this podcast airs. So,
yay.
Yeah, so that'll be exciting. I'm really excited to go back. I have for the most part, full range of motion in my hands again.
That's so good.
And that'll only continue to get better. So yeah, really exciting.
My fingers are crossed for you.
Is that a joke?
It is so.
Is that a pun?
No. Oh my gosh, but it worked out, didn't it? Hey, listen. It's not your pinky. Those are your...
You're right. You don't cross those fingers, I suppose.
It's just... So I remember, like, when you texted me, you're like, oh my god, I can actually move my pinky again. I'm like, I totally get it, because when I walked for the first time after my ankle surgery, which I had that, like, before we started this podcast, it's such a big deal, and those are things, like, you take for granted.
Oh, 1,000,000,000%. Like, you know, the biggest thing that I thought was, like, oh, like, I don't know if I'll ever get used to this again, was, like, holding a pen and writing. Like, because you don't realize how much, like, your... I guess ring finger and pinky are actually involved in writing, because, like, you know, you're really only writing with your first fingers, but they're providing so much support for your hand and the pen or whatever you're using to write with. Like, my handwriting was deplorable up until, like, last week. It's still not great, but
you'll get there, though. It just gets a little better as time passes.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard though. Like, I get it in a different way.
Yeah, it's just nuts. Like, you know, and I've been telling everybody this. I'm like, being, like, fully able-bodied is something I'll never take for granted again.
Right. I know.
Absolutely fucking
I literally can remember sitting on the couch crying when I got my bandages taken off and got a cast on, a walking cast. And my doctor was like, after you get this cast on, you should be able to walk. And I couldn't walk. It took me an extra, like, probably 8 days after he said I should be walking to actually walk, like, with like a minor support.
Right.
And And I remember sitting there like, this is never going to be the same for me.
Yeah.
So it's so easy to get into like this really dark headspace when you're recovering from something like that.
Oh, absolutely. It's honestly just like a mind fuck. There's no better way to like describe it, really.
It is. So
yeah,
we're so glad you're back and you're feeling better.
Thank you. Me too. I was gonna say another thing that like was been kind of funky is because I had surgery and have been basically like living on my couch for the last 2 months. I got really bad about taking like my medications. So this is a reminder to everybody: take your fucking meds even if you don't feel like it. Take your fucking vitamins even if you don't feel like it, because you're just gonna be a sadder, more depressed bitch.
Yeah.
Take it from me.
Go on a walk if you can and you're able-bodied. Go on a walk. Get some fresh air. Yeah. Feels good.
Or if you're, in a wheelchair, go for a wheel outside. Whatever you do,
Yeah. Make it happen.
Yeah, just
fresh air.
Move your limbs, get outside,
Wear a mask.
Wear a fucking mask.
Please.
And get the vaccine when it's available to you. Anyways.
Oh, I can't wait. Yes, for real. So this week, Jaymie's up first.
Yes. I figured it was only fair because you did that solo episode. What did we call it? It was like, I'm only funny when Jamie's not, or when Jamie's here.
Yeah, because I really am not funny. Not a funny bitch.
You're a funny bitch.
No, like you and Audrey are the only people who laugh at my jokes, and sometimes Wes will. He'll throw me a laugh if it's like a good dad joke, but like most of the time people just don't find me funny. It's fine. I've accepted it.
Well, I think you're funny, and that's all that matters.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So
hair flip. Now that this is going to be on the YouTubes, you can see me in real time and what I'm doing.
That's true. Hopefully this is on YouTube if I don't fuck this up.
Listen, I'm actually really good at editing videos.
Okay, perfect. So I'll email this to you and we'll hope for the best.
Yes. No, I actually was going to go to college to do film editing because that's what I wanted to do.
Oh shit.
But
okay, well then you're going to be the YouTube queen.
Yeah. Okay.
I love that for you. So this is a story that's a long time coming. I have teased this case a couple of times. It's the one.
This one is so interesting.
This
and
is
so
the
okay, so
one.
like not to take away from you, but like this actually like made my heart just like want to hug this woman who posted about this. She told this story so like beautifully.
Yeah, and I'm reading it in her words. So this is coming from a Facebook group that Jess and I are part of, a true crime group. And actually the girl and I are now friends. Hi, Katherine.
That's awesome. Hi, Katherine.
We're Facebook friends now. So,
yes.
So this is all written in her words. This is about the death of her grandfather. So, again, anytime I say me or my or I, this is all in the words of Katherine. So this is not Jaymie speaking. I'm just, I'm her puppet. She's the ventriloquist.
Yeah, you're the messenger. And she is just so good at writing.
Yeah, like this story totally compelled me, and I messaged her immediately and was like, hey, can I tell your grandpa's story on my podcast? Like, this is fucking nuts.
Well, I felt like he was kind of like my grandpa after I finished.
Right!
Right? Like, reading it. Fuck. It's so good. Okay, but I'll stop so you can tell your story.
Okay.
Tell the story.
All right, so let me start off by saying that I loved my grandpa very, very much. I feel fortunate to have had as much time as him Jesus Christ, I can't even read. I feel fortunate to have had as much time with him as I did, but if I were to be honest, it wasn't much time at all. He was the best grandpa in the entire world. I know what you're thinking. That's a pretty biased opinion, Katherine, but no, it's a fact. He was spectacular. I give you permission to be jealous. And honestly, I am.
I know. He sounded really great.
My grandpa Frank grew up very poor in a large family of Syrian refugees. The great American dream was all his family thought about, but once they crossed the border, life suddenly became all of a sudden... Once they crossed the border, life didn't suddenly become all sunshine, rainbows, and glitter unicorns. He had a lot of siblings, like a lot. He was one of 12 children, and while he didn't feel the threat of war constantly looming over his head, there was a deep struggle when it came to maintaining the basics such as a home, food, clean clothes, etc. At some point, he joined the Air Force and made it his career. His career let him travel and see a lot of fun places I'm sure he never imagined he would get to see. He met my... Oh, sorry. It looks like... I think there might be a line missing. This is my mistake. My apologies. It looks like her grandmother met her grandfather while they were stationed in Canada. After they were married, they started a family. First to unbless this world with his presence was my Uncle Larry. Larry is, well, he's not a murderer.
Unblessed. I just can't.
I mean, honestly, again, great fucking writing.
Rash, fantastic.
And I'm just over here fucking it up. The nicest thing that I can think of to say about him was that he's not a murderer. He's a real piece of caca, and that's a soft serving of the crap about it. Then came my infamous previous post from Uncle Mark. So she had another post about her Uncle Mark, and I'm not going to get into that one. That's also a crazy story. Maybe one day I'll tell that one too. But honestly, the grandpa story is more bonks, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So, and then they had her dad. So there was two brothers and Katherine's dad. Okay. So back to her grandpa, Frank. Because of his career, he and his family traveled a lot. They moved wherever the Air Force took them, and sometimes it was to really cool places like Hawaii or Colorado. After 20 some odd years, he retired from the Air Force and decided to explore some other options. He went to cosmetology school, just like she would do many, many years later. He also went to nursing and business school, and that eventually led him to start his own business. It was a company for traveling nurses, and he would send them to various hospitals, nursing homes, and wherever they were needed. Her dad became a manager of the company, and at some point, life was peachy keen for everybody. She says I wasn't around for all of that, but when I finally showed up to the party, I became my grandpa's favorite. My snake of an Uncle Larry, who had 2 boys of his own, and no one, and I mean no one, even considered that Mark would ever have any kids, so that just left my dad. I was the first granddaughter, the first girl in a long line of men, and I was a princess. Princess Katherine, that's what he called me. I got what I wanted, when I wanted it. He spoiled me like the brat I was, but I loved every minute of it. We would go shopping at the mall, go to the movies, every long weekend I stayed over, and when I stayed over, I had my own room. Okay, the room bit might be an exaggeration. It was just his guest bedroom, but when I was there, it was Princess Katherine's utopia filled with all things Barbie. He loved watching those awful hour-long TV dramas, and because he loved them, so did I. His favorite was Touched by an Angel, or rather, Titched in the Head, as he liked to call it. As he always had
with my mom.
Did you really?
I used to watch that show. Yeah, a really long time
I've never seen
ago.
Christ.
Yeah.
And Grandpa always had the best snacks. Remember when I said he grew up poor? Well, the thing about my grandpa was, as soon as he made it on his own, he became a bit of a shopaholic. He had 5 giant freezers in the shed full of frozen food, and so on, not including the 2 in the laundry room. At the time, I thought he just wanted to give us kids lots of options. But as an adult, I realized it's because he had to go hungry a lot growing up in the Depression, and he never wanted to experience that again. Every Sunday, like clockwork, he would drive the hour and change to Redlands. We would drive the hour and change to Redlands to visit him for the day. Sometimes the reptile and his vapid wife would meet us there with my 2 cousins, but I preferred it when it was just the 4 of us and my grandpa. On this particular Sunday, we made the trip to Redlands just like every other Sunday before, for as long as I can remember. But something felt off. I don't know if I really remember that, or if my dad was worried, or if I have just been told after the fact, and I think I do. But he was. At this point, my grandpa had lived in a gated retirement mobile home community where literally nothing happened. I mean literally nothing. It was very boring. Lots of old people and boredom. Anyways, we pull up into his driveway. His car was there. We walked up to the side door, the door we always used, and my dad pounded the door for what felt like forever, but Grandpa never came to answer it. At this point, my dad tells my younger brother to go in through the dog door, and come and lock it for him. This wasn't new. My dad always lost his key to my grandpa's house, and sometimes in the past when we got there, he wasn't home. I was a chubby kid, but my brother was a bag of bones. He would run through the backyard, go through the dog door, into my grandpa's bedroom, bathroom, and then book it to the side door and unlock it before the home alarm system went berserk. So that's what he did. Only this time, my dad never turned off the alarm. I was 11 at the time, and the most vivid memory I have of that day is that damn alarm. It just screamed and screamed and screamed until the police got there and turned it off. When Josh, my at the time 9-year-old brother, opened the side door to let us in, he was out of breath and pale. Grandpa's on the floor. My stomach dropped. My dad ordered my brother outside and told my mom to wait with us while he went inside to see what was going on. My dad knew something was wrong before we got there. He just did. I remember my brother crying and throwing up. I remember my mom crying. And I remember sitting on the hood of my grandpa's Mercedes, even though it was the one thing that he would never let me do. He loved that thing only second to me, and if I had dented it with my chubby little butt, I seriously think he would have never forgiven me. No pressure, though, right? I identify with that so hard.
It's just so funny.
My dad had my mom call 911 while she waited outside with my brother and I, and the police arrived. And then she took us across the street to the sweet old couple's home. I don't remember their names, but I do remember playing with their grandchildren when they came to visit. The other kids weren't there that day. They put cartoons on the TV, and we all stood in a circle holding hands and praying. I remember thinking that it was so weird to pray, and that peeking out of either eye to get a sense, and I would peek out of either eye to get a sense of when it would be done. I'm not opposed to religion, it's just not something I grew up with. Eventually, my mom's siblings came for me and my brother. Apparently, even though the police were done for the day, my parents had to wait for the mortician to come to pick up my grandpa. It was pretty late into the day at this point, and my mom told my aunt and uncle that we needed to get food on the way home. I wasn't hungry, so my brother ate his food and then mine. Then we stayed the night at my aunt's house until our parents could pick us up the next morning. Grandpa went to live with the angels. That's all my mom would tell us, and my dad was just as silent. He was angry and hit a lot of walls. He broke both of his hands within a week of each other. It wasn't a fun time in the Slamen household. But as the years continued and I got older, it just became a fact about my life that Grandpa Frank wasn't going to be there. I had no idea what actually happened for a long time. I knew he had died, clearly, and in my teens, I came to the conclusion that it probably had something to do with his health. He had 2 open heart surgeries and was very ill. He carried oxygen tanks with him to assist his breathing anytime we left the house, and sometimes even when he was at home. I found out the truth about my grandpa when I was 16. Well, some of it. My cousin casually dropped the fact that Grandpa Frank was gay. I didn't change the way I remembered him, but I was shocked because I had never known. Looking back, I can see his fierce, flamboyant personality slapping me in the face. But at the time, I just thought he was extra fun and loved to shop. My cousin apologized for telling me, assuming that I already knew, but Pandora's box had been opened, and my family's secrets started coming to light one by one. Don't you love when that happens?
Yeah.
Like, one, like, cousin or, like, family member says, like, one thing, and then it just, like, spurs a fucking, like, domino situation.
Yep.
Yeah, bonks. So the following Easter, we had my Uncle Larry and his bimbo wife, and 2 hellion sons over for dinner. My dad had to work, and my mom was irritated that she had to entertain the scum without him. Larry demanded that we say grace before we ate, which I know I already said this, but we never did that. Heck, my grandfather was a Muslim, and raised his kids as such. But Larry found the almighty Christian God, and this Easter dinner was his reckoning. As we all squinted and pretended to care about whatever narcissistic thing he was thankful for, my uncle decided this was the time to forgive God for cursing him with an AIDS-ridden homosexual for a father. Excuse my language, but what the mallard?
What the mallard? Yeah, that's... Wow.
Fuck all the way off.
Could you imagine saying that about your parent?
No. Absolutely the fuck not.
In front of your... No.
Absolutely not. No, thank you. I was actually just watching something recently. I'm trying to think of what it was. I don't know off the top of my head, so forgive me. But it was like a similar thing where like they were... Oh, it was How to Get Away with Murder. I don't want to like spoil anything, so I'm going to like try to say this as like casually as possible.
If you haven't watched it, then like,
maybe like fast forward 30 seconds.
Yeah.
So there's like a bit where like one of the families is like kind of religious of like the... Have you watched the show?
Yes.
Okay, great. Have you seen the whole thing?
Yes.
Okay, great. So last season, when what's his name? Asher is like around, like his sister tricks him to like go see their mom, and she was like, I forgive you for killing your father, like, or for it being like your fault.
Yeah, right.
And he was like, I'm so sorry. What? Like, this is like the same like kind of jaw drop moment, but like worse.
Yeah.
Because this is real life, not a Shonda Rhimes special.
I would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Could you imagine like one of your, I mean, we're both only children, so this is a little bit weird for us, but like a sibling being like, oh, by the way, like, I finally forgive.
I would throw hands.
Oh yeah, they're like Easter dinner. There'd be ham in people's orifices.
Right. Especially, like, there are obviously are some things that are, like, which I was very grateful to never have dealt with. Like, I have great parents, but, you know, like, some people have parents who have addiction issues, or worse, like, some parents are abusive, and like, those are the things that, you know, eventually maybe you want to forgive them for. If you do, maybe you don't want to, and that's fine, but, like, that would be something that you have a legitimate reason to be upset about, not because your dad happened to be gay. Like, that's just
right.
So
and during a family prayer circle is truly not the fucking time.
No, and
nor the place.
I just find it so hypocritical when people, really of any religion, want to, like, judge people because they're gay. Like, no, that's not. We don't do that.
No,
we don't do that.
Yeah, like, I'm not, like, a huge fan of cancel culture, but I'll cancel the fuck out of that.
Yeah, I agree. There's problems with cancel culture. We can talk about that in our dicking off section of this podcast, which is at the end.
Yes. Okay. As I was.
Okay, and as you were.
So, her brother storms off. Dad leaves work early and then got in a fist fight with Larry in the front yard. It was a huge mess. My mom had to answer some questions, and she and my dad had been avoiding about my grandpa because my dad couldn't and wouldn't. She told me that what she knew, with parental restrictions, someone had murdered Grandpa. Once that can of worms was opened, it was hard to close. Some truth about where Uncle Mark was and what he did came out. Speaking about my grandpa's murder became less of a taboo topic. At least with my mom. We spare my dad and don't bring up what happened much, and keep our stories of his dad light, funny, and heartwarming. Like the time my parents found him lying on the ground behind the couch against the wall, and when they asked him what he was doing down there, he said, "Oh, I don't know, but my granddaughter does it, and she put me in timeout, so here I am."
Aww.
I know, isn't that the cutest thing you've ever heard?
That is so cute.
Or anytime distant family would come visit from Syria, or the homeland as we called it in my house, my grandpa would demand my parents take home any pork he had and hide it temporarily from his visiting family. You know, because Muslims don't do pork, and his family wouldn't eat off the same dishes or even use his clean silverware if it ever thought of touching pork.
Oh my gosh.
My grandpa used to take in vagrants off the street often. He would bring them home with him, feed them, give them a warm meal, and let them stay in the guest bedroom for a night before taking them to a shelter. Apparently he had sex with some of these men, and to be completely transparent, I don't feel the need to push for more information on that aspect, and neither do I. Yeah. On Sunday, January 20th, 2002, my grandpa Frank was found by my brother on his bedroom floor, hogtied and strangled with the breathing tubes used with his oxygen tanks. The last time my father had spoken to him was the Wednesday before we found him, which is why he was worried about him. The house was a mess, rummaged through completely, but the only thing that was missing was his wallet. It was eventually turned in a few weeks later at a truck stop near his home with all of its contents intact. Empty takeout containers were found in the kitchen island, and sex toys were found scattered across his bed. I have no idea if his killer planned to rob him, but didn't find anything they thought was worth stealing, or if my grandpa was propositioning them for sex, and that's why he was murdered. I lean towards the latter because nothing was taken except for the wallet. The police assumed that it was one of those vagrants that he had taken in that had killed him, and so does my family. So that's it. That's all I remember and all I've ever been told. My grandpa's murder is a cold case. There's never been a suspect. There hasn't even been any leads in almost 20 years, and his killer's never been caught. We will have in the show notes phone number you can call with information. And if until we get our website posted, if we do post, like photos of whatever on our Instagram.
The plan.
Yeah, so maybe in the interim we'll do that. Still.
Do you know where this was?
Let me double check, but I believe it was in Florida. Let me just pull it up. I can do a quick Jaymie check while you if you want to get your shit pulled up.
Yeah, so, but I do want to say, Katherine, I'm so sorry for your loss. I literally can't even imagine that. Thank you for letting us share that. We did find, as soon as we read your post on that, we found your story, like, really, I don't know, like I said, I felt like your grandpa was, like, kind of everybody's grandpa, you just, like, want to hug him. So, and you wrote that beautifully and with some humor in there, and despite it being a very, I'm sure, difficult topic to talk about, so.
Yes. So, let me see. Oh, it's San Bernardino County.
Okay, so
is where this took place.
Southern California.
Yeah.
We'll put more information out there.
I actually have the phone number pulled up. The cold case homicide unit for San Bernardino County Sheriff is 909-421-4990.
Yeah, there's like nothing, no information about it, really. I just Googled it.
Yeah. So yeah, again, Katherine, thank you so much for sharing and for allowing me to share your story.
Yeah. Okay, so my case is actually really short this week because, like we've continually said on this podcast, when we're covering people who aren't pretty white young women, there's not a lot of information out there about them. So today, I'm talking about Denise Hart, who she is a 24-year-old who went missing and then was later found to be murdered. So January 25th of 2015, 24-year-old student and mother Denise Hart disappeared. She was from Hartford, Connecticut, but she had been visiting a friend in Sudbury, Vermont. And I did some Googling because I'm obviously not familiar with the East Coast. It's about a 3-hour drive.
Okay.
So where she was 3 hours away from where she was living. Her mother reported her missing January 31st when she failed to hear from her daughter. And I believe that her Denise's child was with like one of her parents or something like that because nothing happened to the child. So her mom reported her missing 6 days after she had last been seen.
Oh, shit. I feel like that's a long time, especially... Did you say that the child was with the grandma?
I am not quite sure
Okay.
where the child was, but the child wasn't with her.
Okay, because I was going to say, like, I think I might have just, like, made that up in my head that she was with the grandma. I was like, how did she not realize that for 6 days?
I think that the child was, I don't know, I think it was a little boy. But, yeah, but what Denise's mom wasn't notified of, so, like, it was 6 days later she reported her missing. But actually, it was the next day that Denise's car was found. So Denise goes missing January 25th. January 26th, her car is found engulfed in flames in Cornwall, Vermont, which is 15 minutes away from Sudbury, where she was last seen.
Okay.
But her mom didn't know that. Nobody informed her mom of that. Which, I mean, granted, she's a 24-year-old. Like, that's not necessarily, like... She's not a minor, I do understand, but it was just interesting that, like, the dots didn't come into contact there, like, when she reported her missing. So,
no, like, literally not at all.
Right, it's just weird. And it's not like, I mean, it's not that far away. It's not like this happened, like, you know, states and states away. Like, it's only a couple hours. So, her car was on fire, and obviously the police suspected foul play immediately.
Right.
They didn't give out any other information. Like, there's really nothing. And 11 months later, so later in that same year, her skeletal remains were found by somebody who was walking their dogs, and the remains were found 13 miles away from where her car was found on fire.
So, like, not that far. It's only like probably like a 30-minute drive. Yeah,
I mean, depending on the roads and, like, you know, whatever. So the police listed her death as a homicide. They obviously do suspect foul play, which you have to be sick to not suspect foul play in that situation. Right. But there's, like, otherwise no information about it.
Damn.
That's all I could find. And that was after going through I have two news articles as sources, but I went through more than that. I went through like 5, and they all said the same thing. And then I found a Reddit post about it. So someone's actually starting a podcast about it, and there's it might be out now because when I did research for this, it was probably in October. So there's going to be a podcast just about Denise's case.
Oh, wow.
I have the link for that, so we'll share that as well. What we'll probably end up doing is just keep a running list of all of these cases, and then we'll add them to our website when we get that up. But if you do want to look at that, you can also, like, go to the podcast description, and usually we have the links in there, or we can put them in there for now. And that's really all I could find, and that makes me so upset. Like, this is a young mother. She was black, which I'm sure that's why there's not that much information, because people, know that people, if a 24-year-old pretty beautiful blonde girl goes missing and she has a child, there's going to be news articles upon news articles with information about it. There's really no information. There's nothing to help people, like, even like try to help the police figure out what this is. So I just thought it was really weird, and I'm wondering, like, it just seems to be such a random thing to happen, like, randomly.
Yeah.
So it makes me wonder if, like, she was driving somewhere and someone tried to flag her down and she pulled over and then, like, something happened, or if it was somebody she knew that did that and that's why she stopped. Because, like, I mean, 2015, I'm trying to think of how old I was. I was about the same age.
5 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, I was 23 then, so I was around the same age. I sure as shit ain't gonna stop for somebody randomly if I'm driving.
Fuck no.
Especially if I'm on a road trip like that. So that's why I'm wondering if maybe it was somebody she knew. Or maybe, I don't know if her
or
car
someone
broke
that
down.
appeared to be in distress.
Right.
Because, like, I mean, like, if you're, like, I mean, here's the thing. I'd be more inclined to stop for someone that appeared to be in distress than someone that was just, like, looking like they were hitchhiking or, like, whatever.
If it were a man, I wouldn't stop. Unless they were hurt or something.
Right, like visibly hurt.
Very obviously, like... And then, even
That's
then,
how you get Ted
I would
Bundy'd.
probably... Right. I would probably call and be like, hey, call my mom. Hey, I'm here. I'm stopping because somebody's hurt. Or, like, call 911. You're just... I mean, as a woman, you have to think about those things, so I can't imagine that she wouldn't be thinking about that.
Right.
So, I don't know, maybe her car broke down, or maybe she saw somebody broken down and she thought it was an innocent thing, and it ended up... Harlow's barking, and I'm about to... take that dog to the pound. Anyways. Yeah, I don't know. Very strange and, like, super sad, because obviously she had a small child, and now they have no mother, and they have no idea what happened to her. Like, at least they found her remains. That's, like, one step, but, like,
right.
They have no idea.
I was saying, it sounds like nothing else has, like, really happened.
Yeah. So that's all I have for that, and of course we'll post, like, that information. So now we've reached the dicking off segment of this podcast.
Yeah. So, is there anything that you've been, like, watching, reading, listening to that, like, really has been, doing it for you?
Okay. So I watched The Ripper, I don't know, on Netflix, the new one on Netflix. So, I actually had listened to a podcast about that case.
Oh, really?
So I was already kind of familiar with it. Actually, I think they covered it on My Favorite Murder. But anyways,
really not sure.
Yeah, I heard it, like, something like that. It's very interesting, and I really find, like, British true crime just a step above. They're just...
Well, I feel like their stuff is, like, more wild for the most part. Like, it's, like, usually twistier.
Yes.
I don't know if that even makes sense.
But this documentary did a really good job of, like, addressing the social concerns at the time that really play into how the investigation was done with these murders. So, we'll do a screen recap of that eventually after we kind of work through some of the other, like, things we're going to do.
Yeah, because we have some that we've, been talking about for, like, a hot minute that we need to, like, get done.
Yeah. So we're going to do those first. But, yeah, so I was watching that. It was really interesting. I haven't really done much else.
Well, I can tell you that I've been watching a lot of fucking television and reading a lot of fucking books.
I love it. I'm here for it.
I'll start with just one thing for this week because I don't want to, like, blow my whole load.
Overload. I know, right?
Yeah. Probably one of the things that I've really been that I've enjoyed the most watching lately is The Wilds on Amazon Prime.
Okay.
I don't know if you've heard of it at all.
I haven't.
Bitch. Okay. So it is a show. It's about 9 girls that are going on a, like, retreat to Hawaii, or at least they think they're on their way to a retreat in Hawaii for, like, basically, like, it's like a feminist thing and, like, how to be, like, better women and blah, 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 blah. Like, all these girls are, like, kind of broken in one way or another. They have some reason that their parents are sending them there. They're all, like, 16, 17. The plane crashes on the way there, and they are on a deserted island. It's just these girls.
That'd be like a worst nightmare. Girls are such bitches.
Girls are the worst, especially teenage girls.
I know, Jesus.
And I don't want to, like, spoil anything, but, like, it's the first episode, and this is the part that'll hook you. So, like, I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna be that bitch. So someone dies, like, almost immediately, and then at the end of the episode, like, they, like, pan the camera back, and then it pans out to, like, a thing of, like, hella monitors of, like, different angles of the island. So it's all fucking staged.
This is a social experiment. Okay, girl,
Bitch, it's so good. It's 10 episodes. They're all, like, 45 minutes to an hour. I binged it in 2 days.
I need something new because, listen, content has been... I have these 2 weeks off, and there's...
No, you need to watch the show. Like, you will love it.
It's
so good. Like I said, it just dropped on Amazon Prime, so if you have a Prime membership, you can watch it. If you don't have a Prime membership, I don't know what century you're living in.
I don't, but I steal people's logins so that I can watch them. And not steal, I mean borrow from my cousin.
I don't know what you're
talking
talking
about. Thank you, Jordan. I love you. Sharing is caring, sweetie. Yeah, okay, so I did want to talk about this because I want to get on my soapbox for a second.
Uh-huh.
Okay, Oxygen channel has...
Yes.
They're a true crime lover's dream because they have tons of different shows. And every time I sit down to watch one of their shows, every single case they feature is a white person. Every single case. Yeah. Every single case. Every single murder that I have, like, in the last month or two, it's disappointing. I mean, of course those cases still matter, but, like...
Right.
We have to have a healthy, like, there's so many cases.
Like, let's make the, like, representation of cases be the same as, like, I don't know, the United States population representation.
Like what America looks like.
Or wherever. Like, I don't, it doesn't matter, but.
Right. Like, yeah.
Well, even, like, not to talk, too much about it. Like, a lot of these, like, documentaries and stuff generally are about white people. Or... it's, I mean, even, like, a lot of the unsolved mysteries, a lot of them are white people.
Yeah. Well, and, too, like, I'm not, those cases do matter, so please, like, don't hear me wrong. And,
right.
Like, all of these cases deserve attention, but, like, there's cases out there of people of color and, like, indigenous people, particularly indigenous women, that, I mean... if given a little attention, might be a huge game changer. And
100%
these things are never really represented in mainstream media or like, Unsolved Mysteries is a huge show.
Yeah.
And even today, I mean, yeah, they do a better job than they used to about being like more diverse with their cases. But yeah, it was just something I noticed that every time I like tuned it on, and it's usually they feature women, and which, yes, like, but also there's men to be featured. Like, it's just, there needs to be more, and it just makes me mad.
It grinds my fucking gears.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
No, I think that was a fucking valid ass soapbox. So you keep standing on it, girlfriend.
I love Oxygen. I just want to see more. In this day, we can expect more, and that's
start tweeting at them, like angry tweeting at Oxygen.
Okay, but like not too angry, but just like angry.
No, like just like salty tweeting.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna write a note to do that. Tweet at Oxygen. Okay.
Perfect. So we'll be back on Wednesday with a recap.
Yes.
And
we hope you had a Merry Christmas.
Yes, and a Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
And we'll catch you later, and hopefully you like all of the fun new things that we have. And,
yay!
Hopefully you stuck around.
Buckle up, Buttercup.
Woo! All right. Bye.
Bye.